So we know that social networks store and monetize our private data, and millions of users get their identity and data stolen. This is 2022, and we should probably already have a better solution for this. As consumers, we must be able to decide when and where to share our private information. A new solution is KILT, a blockchain technology identity protocol for issuing anonymous, verifiable credentials. I know you might be saying, JoJo, my technical knowledge is pretty limited. Well, mine was too. The end goal is for me to help you and KILT to help you protect and secure your data. I had the privilege of speaking to the founder himself, which you will see in the next few minutes. He really dives into the main points on why he's creating this and why it's so important now for 2022 to finally have a real solution. Ingo, thank you so much for joining this call, and I'm very excited to really dive myself into the project more because for me, it seems like a pretty new concept and idea. So I actually wanted to get more on the background on how did you get started with KILT?
So yeah, first of all, thank you for having me here, JoJo. Yeah, how did I get started with KILT? So it's a little bit of an unusual history, I would say. So I originally don't come from the blockchain world. I come from industry world. I'm a computer scientist, and I was working for a huge company, and I was the CTO there. And part of the work of a CTO is to find new technologies and bring them into the company and stuff. And I stumbled around blockchain in 2015. I went to the group board and said, hey, this is something we should look into because this is going to change the world in many, many ways. And then we started discussing about that, and then it turned out, okay, actually, we should not just look into it. We should have our own company there. Then this big company wanted to found this new company, but they had no idea of blockchain at all. So they said, okay, actually, if you do the CEO, you can have the majority of the shares of this thing. Do you want? And this is something where you normally don't say no. So this is how I got into doing a company which does blockchain. As we came from industry, we were looking at the pain points in the internet actually, and said, where can blockchain actually help industry to use technology better than it could before? And this is where we stumbled about digital identity, because digital identity is fundamentally broken in the internet as we know it, and blockchain can help there. So we said, okay, then let's make this company and let's concentrate on digital identity. So that was the story.
How would you say that was your main inspiration to really protect people's identity?
Yeah, I think we came a little bit from a different angle. The angle was more like in the web, not really on one company or so. It was more in the web too. Where is data and where is identity actually stored in comparison to where is it stored in the physical world? Because in the physical world, your identity is much more than your passport, of course, right? Your identity is what you have learned in university. Your identity is if you can drive a car or not. Your identity is basically where you live, and many, many things. And these things in the physical world are normally expressed by credentials, which you own, and you decide if you share this credential with someone or not. So if you want to go into a bar and you have to be 18 to come into this bar, you probably have to show some kind of credential which shows that you are 18. And you decide if you do that or not, right? And you decide which credential you show. And these credentials are issued by trusted entities like the driver's license department or so, who are not part of the identity transaction. So they will never find out if you went to this bar or not, which is pretty much private for you, right? And you have a lot of rights and you have a lot of sovereignty in the physical world. And all this is taken away in the internet, in the digital world, because in the digital world, those big companies which you mentioned, they own your credentials. You don't have the credentials. If you log in with, I don't know, or sign up with WhatsApp, then WhatsApp and Facebook are going to talk about you without you being involved. And this is not okay, because Facebook was issuing the credential and they talk with this credential with WhatsApp, and you don't even know what they're talking about. And so this takes away the sovereignty from the people and makes big data pools. And this is really, really dangerous. And for people, you could always say for people, they are fine with it because it's totally practical. Think of industry. So if I have a product like an IoT device or so, and this IoT device has a digital identity, do I want all the data about it stored with one big company in the US? Probably not. This is not a business model I can follow. So I need this somehow, that the identity is again attached to the thing or to the person. And this is where we came from. And so what we are basically doing, we're bringing back the privacy that we had in the physical world to the digital world.
So you're bringing back the privacy and almost the control back to the people. Do you think this will also get rid of a lot of the scammers that are out there that are filling my messages on WhatsApp?
That's a very good question, but that's not the fundamental goal of this thing. Is that we are not solving all the problems in the world. So what we basically do is give you back the control and the sovereignty of your data. And if you don't share the data with people who then share it with scammers, then you are far better off with getting scammed, right? So if people don't know that this is you, then probably they won't scam you, hopefully.
And let's say is this more geared towards bigger companies, or let's say every individual? Let's say for myself, if I go to your platform, how does that look like step by step?
So we are basically building an infrastructure. So this can be used by big companies, it can be used by small companies, it can be used by individual developers, and of course it can be used by the general public. The KILT protocol itself, you would probably, as an end user, you would probably never see it really, because it's like internet, right? It's an infrastructure which does the whole thing, and then there's an application on top of that you use. So an application which also comes out of our house here is a social KYC, for example. This is an application. You go to socialkyc.io, and then this is a platform, I would say. This is a platform where you can prove your social network connections. So you could, for example, say, I am JoJo at whatever.com, and then it would ask you it would send an email to JoJo at whatever.com and ask you to respond to it. And then it would see, okay, you obviously control this account, JoJo at whatever.com. And then it would send you a credential, which you would store on your computer, that you are this person. And then you would add maybe a Twitter credential, because you can also check your Twitter account. You first have to say, this is my Twitter account, then it asks you to tweet something, and when you tweet it, it checks if you tweeted the right thing, and then it issues a credential. Same thing with Twitch, and so on and so on. And then you collect all those credentials. And then if a website wants to actually check who you are in the internet, this website would be the verifier. That website would be let's say the guy who wants to let you into the bar. And they would actually ask, can you send please an email credential and a Twitter credential? And then you would share this Twitter credential and email credential with the person or with the service. And this service then would decide if they let you in.
Interesting. And then if I'm signing up for this type of service or platform, would I need a passport, my social security, just to kind of add a little bit more credibility to it, or could I just leave it as is?
You can leave it as is, because there's many use cases out there where it's really not interesting where you live and what your social security number is, especially if you look around gaming and stuff like that.
Sure.
Why would you want to know what the street address of the person that you deal with is? If you want to do something in the money world, when money is involved, it's always better to really know who the person is, because it could happen that you somehow want to put this guy in front of a court or something, it's always nice to find out who it is. And if you do banking, then KYC is also required. But what I just described is social KYC. So it's just for the social networks, and it points out in a very, very decent way who you are in the internet without revealing actually who you are in the physical world. If you want to add credentials like your passport to that, you go to a KYC provider. There's hundreds of them out there, and they would issue a credential to you, which you can then also add to your computer. And if somebody needs to know who you are for banking, for example, you could send this KYC credential. What we do is just making the infrastructure for making it possible to send those credentials, to store those credentials, to verify those credentials on the blockchain and stuff like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Now, I wanted to get more information on your latest product development. I think it's called DidSign. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, it's DidSign.
Okay, cool.
So first of all, crazy name. DID basically stands for DID, and DID is a decentralized identifier. So this is something which is absolutely crucial to digital identity, because it represents not your abilities or so, like the credentials we talked about before. Like the DID will never say you can drive, but the DID basically says who you are. So it is comparable in the physical world with your face or with your fingerprint. So it is something that is really unique to you, and which is in the physical world never given to you by any company or government or so. You make yourself, right? So you face yourself. It's yours. It's fundamentally yours and decentralized. And this did not happen with the identity in the Web 2. So lots of companies came together and said, we need to have this identifier thing back in a decentralized way. And it's not like just like small companies like us. There's also IBM and Microsoft, and all these companies use DIDs, and we are all together in the Decentralized Identity Foundation called DIF, and we standardize together those DIDs. So DIDs are fundamentally important. And the cool thing is that with your fingerprint, you know that you can actually sign something, right? You can put it a little bit
or open something.
Yeah. And the same thing you can do with a DID. So if you have a DID, you can sign things with it. That's totally powerful. And so if you have one of those DIDs, you can actually sign documents with it. But not only documents, you can sign basically everything that is digital. So you can sign a film, or you can sign a piece of audio, or a song, or whatever. So we set out to say, well, why don't we put this out as an application? Because signing applications are out there. I'm not saying any names, but there are signing applications out there, and they are all like a little bit centralized. So when I use this, I can I first have to upload my PDF to something, some server, and then they look at the PDF. I don't know if they look at it. At least they make a hash out of it or something. And then they send it to some people via email, and then they can click a button, and this means they signed it, and then they send it back to me, and that is basically the process. And this is not very modern, and this is very centralized, and also this in the end costs money. And DIDs, you can do the whole thing for free, basically, because you can do the whole thing in your browser. There needs no need for servers at all. So what happens with DidSign is that you go to didsign.io, and this just displays a website for you, and then you take some documents, can be anything, and you put them into a field there, and then they are uploaded into your own browser. It's not on a server, and then you can use your DID to make a digital signature on this thing, and then you can save the whole file, or many files or directories or whatever you want, together with this digital signature, and then do with it whatever you want. You can send it to someone via email, you can send it via Telegram, you can use any digital means, you can use a memory stick and send it via post. I don't know. So whatever you want to do with this digital file, you can send to someone else, and then this someone else can just open DidSign again and put this signed file in there, and it will tell you who signed it, because it can look up on the blockchain who actually was the owner of this DID. And so you can make absolutely sure that exactly this person has signed this thing. And if this person then also had some credentials, for example, a Twitter credential or an email credential or a phone number credential, then you know a lot of things about this person which you would never have known on the classical Web 2.0 way, right? So it is much better than the Web 2.0 solutions, and it is absolutely 100% for free, because it doesn't consume any money outside other than running the website, which is, I don't know how much that costs. We can do that for free.
Right.
And so we can promise that DidSign will be there, and it will never cost anything for anyone.
Awesome. And we're almost close to the end, and I wanted to fit in 2 more questions. But how does KILT benefit entrepreneurs, and in what way you are supporting entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I think this is really, really important. I come from the open source world. So if you know Drupal, for example, I was on the Drupal board before I actually went into blockchain. And so what I learned there is that open source lives of developers, so of developers and entrepreneurs. People need to have great ideas and use infrastructure that we build with open source projects to actually make money. It's all about money in the end. So if you don't make money with something, you can be really impressed by it, but after a week you will just let go, because you have to earn some money. So entrepreneurs must be supported, and we do this in many, many ways. So entrepreneurs who rather want to be integrators for KILT have a nice integrator program. Just shout out to me, and I will guide you through this thing. And what's maybe even more important, if you have great ideas, we have a Discord channel where entrepreneurs meet, and they sketch out projects they want to do alone or together. And we can also support those people, because we have the treasury, which is controlled by the council, and anyone out there can make a treasury proposal saying, I have this great idea, I need, I don't know, $20,000 for that, and to implement that. And then we make a treasury proposal, and then the community basically decides, is it worth it? Shall KILT pay for it? And then KILT alone, not me, KILT pays for it out of the KILT treasury. And then those people get the KILT coins, and then they can feed their employees or themselves with it and build great projects. I think this is absolutely necessary to have something like that. And it's being used.
No, 100%. I completely agree. And then closing off, any future product releases, or maybe any partnerships, anything that you could potentially share with us?
So there's actually something coming up, but I'm not allowed to share the name.
Oh, that's okay.
Probably because the name is too cool. And the marketing people say I'm not allowed to say.
Okay, well, safe.
So, but I can maybe describe a little bit what's it about. When you have this identity, all that stuff, it would be really nice, because DID looks like a crypto address, right? And this is not really readable, and you can't say, yeah, this is the guy I met last week, because you can't really, it's just numbers and characters. So it would be really nice if a DID could somehow be linked up to a unique name. And so that everybody could actually claim their unique name, and then also put this on their business card or on the website or whatever, and also have a service which converts the unique names into the unique DIDs, and the other way around. And so this is going to come up in quite exactly 4 weeks, I would say. We have this, no, even less, in 2 weeks, I think. In 2 weeks, so we're going to present this officially and very loud on the Paris Blockchain Week, first time. So if you go to Paris Blockchain Week, until then, it's going to be there.
Perfect. And then what is the best place where anyone can follow you or stay updated on any updates or announcements?
I think the biggest one is definitely Twitter. So we get all the information there, but it's you can't really use it for communication. So it's more for us. It's more of an announcement channel there. So if you want to get closer to the people, either if you are a developer, join the Discord. If you are more interested in general what's happening there, if you are an entrepreneur and maybe you want to are first looking into it and looking at the functionality and want to engage with other people there and find out how the culture works and stuff like that. That's probably the Telegram official.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ingo, for your time and this whole interview with MoonBoots and myself. So yeah, anyone who's watching, follow their socials for the announcements, any new partnerships that might be coming up. But Ingo, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.